Hello everyone, welcome to my new video. Today let's talk about the Kandao QooCam 8K, but in a totally different perspective. As you can see, I put my MacBook Pro here playing a slide about a presentation. I want to share with you about the user interface design on the camera screen. Rather than complain all about issues about the camera, I would rather to choose to make more contribution, to do something that is more positive, more constructive, to help this camera to grow better in the future. So in this video, we're going to talk some futuristic stuff on the Kandao QooCam 8K. And we're going to focus on the 2.4 multi-touch screen on the camera. The name of my speech is the QooCam 8K, the user interface concept presentation. It is a prototype for myself. It is the ideal user interface in my mind. And I would rather make a keynote and draw every of the figures by myself. So this is a huge lot of work, but I hope you can enjoy yourself and get idea of my personal thought on this UI design. So I'll make this keynote exactly the same 3:4 ratio, just like you are watching on that multi-touch screen. So you can see on the first page, I have put a histogram on the bottom because I just want histogram so badly. And next one is the sketch line of the camera. As you can see, this multi-touch screen fits right in the middle of the bottom part of the QooCam 8K. Actually, judging from the original design, there are something aesthetically not right. As you can see on the top of the figure, it is just this, all the figures, they are not perfectly aligned. They are just differentiated to each other by several pixels. For the export values, for most of the photographers, we would rather to see the positive, the +1, +2 on the top, while you have a -1, -2 on the bottom. And this is have totally a different order, and sometimes we just feel a little bit weird by the first sight for the export values. And here, this is what we're gonna have in this menu control mode. This is the shutter speed. You have a word called shutter. Actually, if you put 1/50 there, everybody knows it's shutter speed. You don't have to put this word. It is redundancy in the UI design. Considering there is the 8K 30 FPS, so if you have put the 8K/30, people will know that this is 8K 30 FPS. You don't have to put the FPS in the screen. And I draw all of the stuff by myself and align exactly the same with the user interface. That is a huge amount of work for me. The user interface, the UI design, at this moment, it is kind of like usable, but it's just not beautiful. And something is just aesthetically not right. On the Linux platform with the self-defined multi-touch screen, it's just not that easy compared with cell phone design. So to make a very beautiful UI design, they take quite a lot of resources in the development. So I can understand that user interface is just good, but not excellent. But we want an excellent camera. We want it to be almost perfect in any perspective, especially the user interface, because that is where we interact with the QooCam 8K every time we open the camera. So it's usable, but just not beautiful. And here I'm gonna recomposition all elements in the design. I'm gonna show you my personal design about this user interface. I would like to have a blurry background, just like the iPhone and Android platform, because every time we have settings, we want to have blurry background to differentiate from the background and the foreground and make you more precise and more focused when you want to change the settings on the camera. Okay, that's the reason why I want to make it to have a blurry background. And the blurry background will be rendered in real time. So that will take more of the computational resources on hardware platform. And here I have recomposition all elements in the menu, because considering with previous design, on the bottom line is just not beautiful, and sometimes it is just so crowded in the bottom line. Here I have recomposition and change all the fonts so that it can perfectly align and stay at the place there should be. And here I'm gonna put some white background or the black background, and with some transparency to make it more beautiful in the UI. And I have changed the FPS, the 4K 120. I don't want to use the FPS because with 120 people know that it is 120 FPS. And I think the 10-bit color depth is a killer feature for this camera, so I would rather choose to put the 10-bit indication on the bottom line to show people color depth of the video you are recording at this moment. I have changed the font, adjust the size to make it large enough but still not crowded. And I have put a self-defined symbol on the top on this side so that when you hold your camera in your hand. Okay, I'm gonna take my camera. I should have a camera here. Let's take a look at that. Okay, I have put a self-defined button on this place so that when you hold the camera in your hand, your thumb you can touch the button with ease. And when you tap the button, you're gonna see all the settings right in the foreground. Okay, so this is when you tap the button, and you're gonna see more settings from this menu. And here I'm gonna see that the QooCam Maker is working in the 360 mode, and everything will be green. That is a QooCam green. It's indication that it has already been selected. The histogram button, when you press the histogram button, you're gonna see a histogram. And here you're gonna see at the same time, you're gonna have settings, and exposures, and this is the exposure settings you have. It's 1/32. And if you want to change the settings, there's gonna be a new tab right on the right side of the value with an anchor point in the middle, the indication that this is the value you have already selected, and you can have a perfect align with that. And you can see that the 1/16 has a bigger size compared with other numbers. That is also a very good indication this is the value you have already been selected. And you can scroll up. This is just fluent. It's just like water fluent, so left side. And you're gonna select to, you're gonna change to 1/15. And for the ISO, it's the same. And for the color temperature, different from the preset daylight, the cloudy, I would rather to choose have a precise the Kelvin control. I like the 2000K to 9000K with a step of 100K, so that people could scroll out to different color temperature, but still judging from the panel to live preview to select the best white balance for their camera. So this is a more precise control for your QooCam 8K. And the maximum is 9000K, the minimum is 2000K. And for the white balance also, if you scroll all the way to the left, you're gonna select to the auto white balance. I want to have more possibilities in the frame rate, the resolution. With the 8K 30 camera, that should be a 6K 30 FPS, because 8K 30 equals to 6K 60. You can see when you select to the 6K, the maximum frame rate is 16, but you can all the way go down to the 50, the 30, the 25, or even 24. And for 8K, the maximum is 30. You can scroll the different direction. It is just so beautiful, and just be careful with the anchor point in the middle. This is just beautiful, and this design is really genius. And let's take a look at the auto exposure. For the auto exposure value, I will change the background to green and white font, make indication that it is in AE mode. You're not gonna select any one of the ISO, so you can now change the exposure values. And the white balance, you can select, yes. I like a maximum dynamic range to select from -4 to +4. That is a huge amount of dynamic range for you to compensate in auto mode. As you can see, this is 360 mode, but actually theoretically speaking, the QooCam 8K should have a single lens shooting mode. That will have a double frame rate compared with a single lens, compared with the GoPro Hero 9 with max lens mode. For the QooCam 8K, there should be a 2.7K 60 FPS in a single lens shooting mode if you put all computational power in a single lens. So here you can see that on this menu, when you tap the 360 again, you're gonna change to a single lens mode. The single lens mode, theoretically speaking, you should have 2K 130 FPS and the 2.7K 30 or 60 FPS. This is a histogram on the bottom if you select the histogram button. And you can see I have take quite a lot of space in the picture to show you the histogram, because histogram is really important for the photographers. And I have set the different anchor point to the histograms. In the Adobe system, this section interactive with black and shadow and exposure and white and highlight. So you can see all the histogram in different sections. That will give you a basic impression about the exposure value you have selected, and you can also make a judgment on your dynamic range in the whole shooting scenario. Once you have tapped the button again, this will scroll back, every setting will be gone, and now the user interface is very clean, and every setting will set in the bottom line with AE mode 1/15, the EV minus 2.0, 2K 120 fps, 10-bit color depth with a single lens shooting mode. And now you can take a shot. More about the shooting mode. We know that the QooCam 8K has a lot more shooting mode in the camera because this camera is just so powerful and so amazing. Here you can see more about that. Here you can see that in the shooting mode, I can see this is in the photo mode. But I also want to have a microphone indication. Once you have plugged in the 3.5 microphone jack, and on the right side, you can see the real-time volume indication of the external sound input. There should be a -6 dB indication for people to make a judgment. There's no overexposed in your audio input. They will change dynamically, just like my Sony a7 Mark III, but you will know what I mean. And for the photo mode, you can select the timer with the DNG format. We have 2, 3, 5, 10, or even 16 countdown timer. And there's just the DNG mode, the JPEG mode, or JPEG plus DNG. And that you can see, this is how you're going to take a photo in the user interface. Next one, let's take a look at the video mode. And here you can see the histogram, the volume indication, and different variation in the frame rate, the resolution, exposure values, AE mode. Now you can see this is, we're going to head back. You're going to see that. And here you're going to see this is in the time-lapse mode. In time-lapse mode, you can also select the JPEG, the DNG. And just like the Kandao meeting, they use the motion JPEG encoder. So I still want to have a motion JPEG encoder to get a video file right inside the camera, or you can just encode MP4 or H.264 format so that you can change directly with your friends. And for the interval time, if you want shooting RAW, the interval time should be longer than 5 seconds. But if you want shooting in JPEG, it can be lower down to the 2 seconds. Okay, so this is a time-lapse mode redesigned in my mind. And here is the famous DNG8 mode. The DNG8 mode, you can see they can change the exposure values. You can select the countdown timer, and this is a classical DNG8 shooting mode. The DNG bursts take 8 individual DNG shots in a sequence, lightning fast. Okay, and this one is the famous SuperHDR that I have redesigned the icon for the HDR. And for the HDR, actually, this is, if you choose the HDR mode, you're going to generate a single JPEG photo right inside the camera and a stitch in the camera. And with the DNG8, you're going to capture altogether 24 DNG files, and you can stack and post in the in-camera RAW Plus to give you more control on every one of the capture. And you can also capture in the eDNG mode, Express DNG8. That means you're going to capture 3 high-quality 16-bit Express DNG8 stacking real-time, and will give you more possibilities. And it is just a classical SuperHDR shooting mode in this point of view. And here you're going to see it's a bracket shooting mode. You know that the bracket shooting mode is also long been waited by the most of the customers in the QooCam user group. And actually the bracket shooting mode is a classical single shooting but with different exposure bracket. So you can bracket in JPEG, you can bracket in RAW, or you can have different bracket number. Here you can see you can select the exposure values to have an anchor point, the base point as the middle shooting, and bracket based on that point with bracket 3, 5, 7, or 9. And there's a countdown timer, and you can bracket in JPEG or you can bracket in RAW. This is the ideal bracket shooting mode that is absent in the QooCam 8K. This is all about the photo, the shooting, the time-lapse, all about the features, and all about my ideal design in this camera. Especially I was talking about user interface design. So I think you can learn something, work together to do something positive to help this camera grow better in the future and provide more ideas for this whole industry. Not only QooCam 8K, but some other camera manufacturers, they can now reach from our positive contribution and push this industry another giant step forward. All of us would have more choices, more better choices in the future, and we're gonna create more amazing content with better camera, better gear, better UI, and better amazing features. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to thumb up, subscribe, and hit notification bell. My name is Yuxun Guo. You can learn a lot about 360 photography on my channel. So until next time, bye.